morning, everyone. It's good to have you all this morning join our program, Conversation with an Alum. It's good to be back after a while. This morning, we have with us Mr. Aniekeme Finbarr, SA Social Orientation, Akwa Ibom State Government, and IVLP 2023. He will be looking at the topic this morning, future of journalism, emerging trends, technologies, and opportunities. I would like our director in Uyo to please read his bio as he takes his turn.
Thank you, Josephine. Good morning, everyone. We have here in our space in Uyo Window on America, Mr. Aniekeme Finbarr. Mr. Aniekeme Finbarr is an accomplished broadcast journalist, trained professional speaker, and a public servant. He currently serves as special assistant to the Special Assistant on Social Orientation to the Akwa Ibom State Government of Nigeria. He also served previously for 8 years as Special Assistant, New Media, Akwa Ibom State Government. He has over 15 years experience of working as newspaper columnist, radio on-air personality, professional speaker, advisor, and consultant for top CEOs and governments across Nigeria. Mr. Finbarr is an alumnus of the University of Uyo, where he holds a degree in communication arts and postgraduate specialization in marketing and communication and public relations. He is the author of 2 books titled Dare It, Do It, and also It Is Your Moment. He has championed several programs aimed at inspiring and empowering young people, especially media professionals, to achieve their dreams. In September 2023, in recognition of his outstanding work, the United States Department of State nominated him as Edward R. Morrow Journalism Fellow under the International Visitors Leadership Program, IVLP. Aniekeme has been recognized by several international and local organizations for his positive contribution to the development of young people in politics, journalism, advocacy, and boy-child development. He has been honored by Young African Leadership Initiatives, YALI, and Save the Children campaign. He is married to beautiful Ekaite and is blessed with 3 wonderful children. So we present to you Mr. Aniekeme Finbarr. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ufoma. Please join us to welcome Mr. Aniekeme. Shall we put our hands together, please? So you've got the floor, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much, Josephine, and special thanks to the entire American Space family for the honor of having me this very wonderful morning, and I feel like a president on giving a national broadcast covering several spaces across Nigeria. So today I'm here to talk about a very, very pungent topic that has to do with the future of journalism. And I think that journalism is at a crossroads. You know, I belong to the old school and the new school because as at when I started, I got on radio for the first time, I think 2007. Many things that are happening now did not happen. The digital revolution that we are witnessing now has completely, transformed how we consume, how we produce, and how we disseminate information in the modern space. And I'm grateful to the United States government who deemed me worthy to be recognized to be part of the International Visitors Leadership Program, which is a premier exchange program of the US government, and having to go over to the United States for about 3 weeks to interact with the major institutions and top-notch individuals and professionals in the media field. It was a very, very exciting, exhilarating experience, being to Washington, D.C., going on Voice of America, visiting over 12 tertiary institutions, universities, being spoken to by professors, and getting to exchange knowledge and information about the media space. It's been absolutely wonderful, and it's great to share here. I don't know, Josephine, if I have the go-ahead to just speak to this topic very briefly in the next couple of minutes. If I have that leave, I can proceed.
Yes. Yes, you do, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, I appreciate you. So the first thing we'll look at in journalism will be the emerging trends, the things that have emerged, and also observe that what's happening in Nigeria is similar to what's going on in the United States of America, where technology has changed the face of the media. If you go on the streets of the United States, you would hardly see a copy of a newspaper at a newspaper stand, meaning that the print media is suffering a very powerful decline, not only in Nigeria, but also in the United States, in that most of the newspaper houses, the New York Times, the rest of them are only gotten through subscription. So you can't just walk through a stand and have a copy of a particular newspaper because folks are moving from that nature of the print media. So we have emerging trends in the media space currently. And one of such I'm going to share will be digital convergence. What we have now is that before now we had radio, television, print, and these were very distinct media. But at the moment, the lines are blurred, such that journalists must be proficient in multiple formats to be able to practice now. You must be good in text, video, audio, and social media, because you can't just say I'm a radio person, so I'm not going to be on the internet. Journalism has moved on to a new era currently now. So there is also data-driven journalism. And of course, there's a lot of data analysis, especially if you're into investigative journalism. You don't just say, okay, someone stole money in government. You have to bring out data. You must provide evidence. So that's the way journalism has moved on now. The third point is that there is the mobile-first strategy that has come up. That's one of the emerging trends now in journalism, whereby most of the news that are consumed, according to what we had at the Pew Research Center in Washington, D.C., in America, most of the people consume the news on their phones. And I think it's also the same even here in Nigeria. So if you want, as a journalist or as someone who intends to be a journalist, to be an effective communicator, you must know that your news materials will be consumed on the phone. So as a journalist, you must optimize your content for mobile platforms. Because, I mean, when last did anybody sit down in front of a television for 4 hours to follow the news? I mean, it's quite strange now. And then social media and distributed content. In those days, if an article is published on, say, The Punch or The Vanguard, you are not likely to see it on another platform. But it's different now with social media and syndicated and distributed content, that someone can produce something and every other news blog, every other space is sharing that same material. And so it also affects the practice of journalism in that you have to produce and do contents that can pass through several channels. It can be the same content is played on radio, same for television, same on the social media and all of that. And another very wonderful trend, Josephine, that has emerged is that of podcasting and audio journalism. It is one of the revived interests, interestingly, a little different from what radio used to be. It offers a new opportunity for issues to be analyzed in an in-depth way, for entertainment to be driven in a manner that is more audience-friendly and all of that. Another thing about the future of journalism is the technology. Things have changed. when we first got in the early 2000s on radio and television, there was no artificial intelligence. All the research we could do and even internet penetration was still very low. We had little access to Google and the rest of it, but now there is artificial intelligence. So you can just prompt into your chat GPT or any of the tools and tell the tool, please prepare a radio script for me, or prepare a television script for me, or write this news for me. And AI gives you a sample of a speech or a news report or anything that you may want. So the practice of journalism has changed with these technologies, artificial intelligence. And again, many people have also been caught napping because they have not updated to the current trends in journalism, and I'm also not learned about them. So AI-powered tools are assisting with first research and then the transcription. Now you can just, like this interview we're having, like this conference we're having, I can just take this video and slot it into one of the tools, and it gives me a direct transcription of everything that we are going to say and I've already said on this program. That's the beauty of AI. Is also helping with content optimization and the rest of it. Another one is virtual and augmented reality, VR, AR. You know, it gives room for very immersive storytelling, which is enhancing audience engagement. And of course, we can talk about blockchain and transparency. For instance, now, if it's election day in Nigeria, I know the United States do it better. You can watch the election results trickle in, and it's the same on every television station. That's a product of blockchain technology, and it helps for accountability and for transparency. And then cloud-based collaboration is also one of those technologies where tools can be used. An editor can be in Owerri and transmit same information on the cloud to another person in Meduguri or Uyo or Aba or any part of Nigeria, and sharing becomes quite easier. So everybody, in those days in the newspaper house, who used to work in a newspaper house, everyone has to come down by 5 p.m. for editorial meeting. But these meetings can take place now on Zoom. They can take place on any digital platform, and then the editorial contents can be determined. So the next one is, with these technologies, what opportunity does it offer? For my friends who are listening to me today, how can I come into the journalism profession? How can I make money? Because I know young people like to make money from the media space now. So there are new opportunities. There are fine opportunities for people who want to practice journalism. You don't need to be hired or employed by a newspaper house to practice now, because there is enough space. The first one is what I call niche journalism. In those days, when we used to wake up for the television to come up by 4 o'clock, then there will be ribbon lines and music will play. A presenter comes up and tells you what programs are going to hold for the day. You know, things have changed. So now you can be your own television station. You can be your own radio station. And so there is niche journalism, a situation where a station does sports, news, music, and everything. That kind of journalism is fading away. So now people are interested in specific topics, specific issues, and specific audiences. You know, it's filling the gaps that were left by the traditional media. So you can determine an area that excites you and say, okay, I want to focus on travel. I want to focus on climate change. I want to focus on sports, on entertainment, on politics, on news. And then you begin to produce a podcast or produce content that actually fits an audience that are interested in that. So niche journalism is an excellent opportunity for upcoming journalists. There is also entrepreneurial journalism, which I have scratched. You know, journalists can now create their own media outlets. They can leverage digital platforms. And if you go on YouTube, you find so many TV channels. I mean, TV channels in quotes. And same on Facebook, same on Instagram. And you see young people creating their own content, becoming their own TV stations. There is also collaborative journalism. And I must also stress that for your content to be appreciated, it has to be good quality. And you may not have all it takes to do it alone. So there are opportunities for 1, 2, 3 people to come together and produce content. We see the skit makers do that. That's an aspect of media practice though. But it can also be done in the core media space, where 1 or 2 or 3 people can come together, or even news organizations can come together and do projects, and community groups can foster the storytelling better. Another opportunity is global journalism, where the digital media has enabled us to be able to project local issues to a global space. Like, for instance, Hurricane Helene and Milton in Florida. We're able to sit back in Nigeria and appreciate what's going on in Tampa Bay, what's going on in Miami and the rest of the cities in Florida. And we're able to, appreciate from a local perspective, not just what is shared on global cable networks like CNN, like Fox, like Sky News, like the BBC, but we're able to appreciate what local reporters, what the audience in the local places are actually saying. So global journalism, you can project your village, your community, your town to the world via the media space, and that's an excellent opportunity. Many people around the world are also eager to know what's going on around you. So another opportunity is that of diversity and representation, because the new digital landscape is providing opportunities for underrepresented voices to be heard. In the newsroom, the editor determines what is news. But now everybody has the power, especially those who want to come into the field as professionals, to highlight whatever news. So there is no suppression of information, again, in this era with the new future of journalism. But let me look at the challenges. All of this does not come without its own peculiar challenge. The challenge of the modern era of journalism and the future of journalism is disinformation and misinformation. Disinformation is the information that is deliberately distorted, false information from the start. It is not a mistake. It is calculated. It is deliberate. It is intended to misinform the members of the audience and the public. And that's the danger that we are now in. That's a very huge challenge that we are in now. There's a lot of fake news everywhere, and even big news organizations fall for this fake information. And then there is also misinformation. For instance, you saw something on a particular newspaper site, and then you copy it and use it thinking it is true by mistake. That's misinformation, and you can mislead everybody. Another challenge of the new era of journalism is that job security and sustainability is a big issue, because you see, adverts are moving away from traditional media like radio and television. People are no longer placing adverts there. So those media houses can no longer employ a certain number of staff. They can't engage too many people because their revenue is going down. And we're able to appreciate that in the United States when we went on the exchange program. At least I visited up to 5 public radio stations. The model in America now is that radio stations are more owned by the members of the public. They're the ones who contribute to the growth of the station and who invariably determine what is being aired. So you don't really have private commercial radio stations at that minimal level, because it's no longer very profitable to own them. And I shared it with one of the media owners in my state. I said, look, we used to have just one radio station in the state. We have over 15 now. Are you sure you guys are not going to close down anytime soon? Because I am monitoring the traffic as far as revenue and ads are concerned, and it is dwindling on a daily basis. People choose to place adverts online now because the audience has moved online. And then the third issue is that of press freedom and safety, because more damning news materials are coming out, and there is a lot of threats and harassment, all of that. So those are some of the challenges that are witnessed. But in conclusion, my advice for people who are coming into the profession and those who have already been there, even if you've been there for decades, is that number one, you must embrace lifelong learning. You must be willing to learn. Look, if you're not updating, if you're not moving with the trend, you'll be absolutely obsolete. I don't think there should be a journalist who doesn't own social media accounts now. Otherwise, I mean, people are not going to be having a feel of your work. So you must be willing to embrace lifelong learning. Another thing you must embrace also is a collaborative spirit, because you can't do it all alone. You should be willing to produce high quality, impactful materials, and that can come through collaboration. Another issue that is on the top burner now as we conclude are ethical standards. People are becoming more aware of their rights and privileges. So you can't just publish as slanderous and libelous articles on people. They will take you to court. They're going to sue you. So you must be careful about the things that you publish, and verify your sources so that you don't be in trouble. And I'm sure some of us are following what's happening with Very Dark Man and Bobrisky. These are some of the issues that are dominating the media spaces. And then finally, you must innovate and experiment. The media space is now fluid. It's no longer traditional. So there are lots of things that you can experiment and test whether the audience are going to like it, whether it's going to be accepted. There's a lot to do. You can change the format and all of that, the platforms and the storytelling techniques. And these are some of the things that are dominating. That's the picture of the future of journalism with the current trends, with the technologies, the challenges, and the way forward. So Josephine, I appreciate our time having to share some of this knowledge, which the exchange program, the IVLP experience actually deepened by learning with the people who are outside of Nigeria. Meanwhile, I had 22 colleagues in my cohort, 23 of them from 22 countries. So it was an opportunity to know what's going on in their countries, how they are practicing journalism, and how those things can also shape our own practice down here. So I'm very privileged, and we are grateful for this opportunity, and I'm willing to take questions from the audience.
Thank you very much, Finbarr. I'll take the first question, then we go to our audience. So if you have questions, you can raise your virtual hand or you type your questions in the chat. We can quickly pick it up from there. So this morning, I think we have good time to ask questions. If your network is okay, you can raise your virtual hand. We will take you. So let me take the first question. How can we differentiate between propaganda and disinformation?
Oh wow, that's a very good question, and it's good you're asking. It's good you're asking a politician that question. I have actively, in the last 10 years, been involved with the government. And most propaganda emerges from the political space, and it's mostly heightened during elections. I've served 2 governors in my state now, currently serving, in fact, technically 3 governors, because I started out serving the deputy governor during the Godswill Akwa administration when the current Senate president, when he was governor of the state. Propaganda is basically exaggerated truth. It's not exactly falsehood, but it's also truth taken too far. For instance, now, maybe you went on the road and noticed that there is only one pothole on the road, and you raise an alarm that maybe that governor, maybe that local government chairman has not done anything, and that potholes have taken over all the streets of Lagos. That's propaganda. And then you heighten it and use different modes to achieve your aim. So propaganda is used mainly during political season. It's also used during the war. It's used in war. For instance, if there is fighting, and in this age of AI, people are faking a lot of things to drive propaganda. People will fake videos. Most of the videos that you watch during war times are not real. I've seen a lot of fake videos involving this Israel, Hamas, Gaza war. Many of those videos are fake. They are propaganda both on the Israeli side and on the Hamas side, trying to, heighten the tension and convey their own sentiments to the audience. So that's propaganda. Fake news is fake news. I think you asked me about the difference between propaganda and then falsehood and fake news. Fake news is fake.
Yeah.
Disinformation is entirely fake. There's no iota of truth in it. And it is worse in this era where we have AI. In the last election, I can also tell you, there were many videos we battled with. People's heads were taken off from other materials and superimposed on other videos. And then you have a scandalous scene and a politician is involved. And it used to pose lots of challenges for us, because I also served at the national level as a member of the media committee of my party. And so we had many of those instances. And then there were broadcast messages, many broadcast messages that were syndicating that were outrightly false. Like, for instance, there's one going on now that CAF has punished the Libyan national team to pay 10 million stuff and so many. It's absolute falsehood, because the Confederation of African Football is yet to decide on the dispute between Nigeria and Libya. But there are many broadcast messages saying Libya has been banned and so many things. So in this era, you would have a lot of disinformation. There can also be propaganda. Propaganda being that something can be won, but projected in the media to mean 10 or 20 or 100. So I think I've done justice to that question.
Yes, thank you very much. We have a virtual hand from Benin City. So Benin City, please, can you unmute and ask your question?
Good morning, Josephine. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, directors on the call. With me this morning are students from Mass Communication Department from 100 level to 300 level. So they have some questions, but I think one of the pressing things I want our speaker, Finbarr, thank you for that excellent presentation, is to maybe say some things to motivate them this morning, considering that they are people that are aspiring to get to where you are and possibly even exceed what you have been able to achieve. So that's coming from me, but one of them is here to share concerns. So come, please.
All right, good morning. Thank you very much, sir, for this opportunity. Okay, my question is this. As a journalist, knowing fully well that one of the importance or one of the importance of journalism, one of it is to also, pass information to the masses and all. So country where the government, most times, I would say the government is corrupt. So how the government is which, of course, this government will come after you for that question. So for that information being passed out. So as a journalist, how can you cope with such? Knowing fully well that you have to give a truth, a very important and a very important information to the masses, something that is legal, something that is trying to look for the word to use now. The fact, yes, factual. So, but the government coming to fight you for, putting that information online. As a journalist, how do you cope with such? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, although some part of that question was lost to service a challenge, but I think I got the kernel of it. Influence of the government when it comes to media practice. I like to say it's always been so. It's always been so. The government is almost always at loggerheads with the media family and with journalists. Because what journalists are the last hope of the common man. They are the voice of the people. They are the ones that speak truth to power. They are the ones that say the things that are not palatable. They are the ones that highlight the problems that exist in the society for governments to solve. So it is very normal for governments to be uncomfortable across the world. I mean, even in the United States. I mean, remember when President Donald Trump was president? I mean, he literally fought the media every other day, calling them fake news and even abused reporters and engaged them. So it's a story that is it's everywhere. But you see, as a media person, especially as a young journalist who's coming through the ranks, and recently I trained 60 journalism new graduates who just finished from the university as part of my IVLP Global Impact project. And one of the things I told them, which I'm also telling you now, is that you must know the field that you are coming into, and you must determine which aspects of journalism you want to be in. For instance, if you want to be in investigative reporting, you must understand the risks that are inherent there. You must understand that this job comes with its own hazards. And you must make up your mind that you are not going to play double standards. For instance, you can't get money from government and also attack them at the same time. You have to stand by the ethics of the profession and publish your news materials, no matter whose ox is God, no matter who is damned. So there are implications for you, but I'm also here to encourage you. It is very, very rewarding to see that your work has brought positive impact on the society. Imagine seeing a bad road and reporting it on the media space, and tomorrow, whether the government agrees with you at the moment, they finally move in to construct that road. There is a sense of satisfaction. There's a sense of fulfillment that it was your report that highlighted this problem, and today it's being solved. So there is great reward for good journalism, and the society needs good journalists to continue to fight for it. So don't be discouraged, but you must be aware that things are not likely to change because they existed 100 years ago, they're existing now, and unfortunately, they may continue to exist. That friction between the government and journalists.
All right, thank you. Well, go to Window on America, Joss. Can you unmute and ask your question?
Okay, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
During your presentation, you've mentioned that niche journalism is reshaping the landscape of journalism. So what are the opportunities that that present for media professionals in current decade? Could you throw more light on that, sir?
Okay, thank you. I didn't get your name from Joss. I'm wondering whether Joss is still very cool. But it's good to hear from you and knowing that you are participating and learning. Niche journalism is that's fine. Niche journalism is the new way to do stuff. In those days, we'll tune on to NTA. NTA will play music at some point. At some point, they will do movies. At some point, they will do sports. At some point, they will give us the news. But you see, the media practice has moved on from there. So even on cable network, you have channels that only play music. You have channels that only beam sports. You have channels that only show movies. And even at that, some Nollywood movies, some Hollywood movies, some Indian movies, the telenovelas and the rest of it. So for you, people always tune to particular channels or visit certain websites when they have a particular need. So people don't just come and expect nothing. So now, if I want updates on Big Brother, if I'm a follower of the reality TV program, and I know that your page is always updating on that program, I am likely to tune in. So you are going to have fans of reality TV programs. Or for instance, I'm a fan of the English Premier League, and then your channel or your Blogspot or your Medium gives me live scores and analysis. I want to know what player my club is going to buy, who Arsenal is going to buy, who Manchester United is going to buy. Meanwhile, those two clubs need to buy players, you know. So, and the rest of it. So I'm going to tune onto that channel. So for you who is coming into the media space, you have to determine, what do people really like? What are they following? What do I have passion for? Do I have passion for fashion? Am I going to be a fashion news person, or entertainment, or which other aspects? And there are so many subfields that you can be interested in. So that's what we call niche journalism. Instead of just publishing everything, let people know you for a particular angle, a particular field. You say, okay, once I get on Henry Block, he's always talking about this. He's always talking about books. There are blogs and channels that are dedicated to books, the latest books. There are some that are dedicated to movies. So wherever there is a new movie, they are going to analyze on it. Some are dedicated to technology and phones. I mean, if you go on YouTube, you find many channels that are dedicated to that. And once there is a new phone, they break down the feature, they tell you everything about that phone and so many other things. And it's usually absolutely very, very amazing to have such channels. So that's niche journalism. And I think that if you develop interest in a particular field and start now, give yourself the next 2-3 years, your audience will grow and you'll feel the impact of your work.
Thank you very much, Mr. Aniekeme. Window on America Jos, I hope you were able to get your answer. Ekemini Ekwere, please can you identify yourself by introducing yourself and ask your question?
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone from Uyo, Nigeria. Good morning, Mr. Finbarr. Good morning, Dr. Akwa. It's good joining here. Yes, my name is Aniekeme Finbarr, one of the trainees who was successfully trained by Mr. Aniekeme Finbarr from the next generation.
Can you put on your camera so we can see you? We know we are not speaking to a robot.
Unfortunately, where I am now, I don't really have light, so the room is very dark.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, continue.
Yeah. So I'm one of the students, like I said, who was successfully trained by Mr. Aniekeme Finbarr during the Next Generation Journalist project, and that was very profound and worthwhile. So, Mr. Finbarr, this is me saying thank you, Daddy, for always having us in mind. So, straight to my question. On the 6th of October, we have still coming from the disinformation angle. We saw something here in Akwa Ibom where the news of the coordinator of the office of the First Lady, Mrs. Alum, some of I will title them misinformed journalists. Some of them actually came online here, and some I may not know if they are journalists in quote, but they disinformed people trying to say that the lady is now the new First Lady, you see. And right now, as I went online, I also saw another information here where Shehu of CNN, there's a post there. I think there's an editing using AI to fix his face there. That Shehu, bye-bye, is a sad day for Nigeria. He didn't know that his microphone was on. And so the question now is, Sir Finbarr, to journalists here, students who are journalists, what will the students, as a journalist trainee, how are you going to come up here to try and break the truth? Because I saw someone who is learned posting this, and I was trying to like, sir, this is wrong. This was not the information. This is how it is. And he was actually arguing. So as a student of journalism, how are you going to put this information very straight so that this will not get to, because one thing about information, like it spreads, it disseminates like fire.
All right, Mr. Ekwere, we got your question. Please, Finbarr, can you take that?
Thank you very much, Mr. Ekwere. I think the summary of your question, meanwhile, thank you for the appreciation on the Next Generation Journalism Project. I deeply appreciate that you had a good time. Yes, well, the summary of your question is on how can one detect fake news? And I'd love to speak to that. But let me also take in this question that is coming from the window here in Uyo. It's from Isaiah Sunday, and he's saying, I want to ask if it is possible to have an affiliate platform with an authorized news agency such as The Punch or Vanguard with the provision of a commission in view. Okay, I'll take that also. But on fake news, to all my friends who are listening now, we live in an era that everybody is susceptible to fake news. Everyone is likely to be a victim of fake news. I have been a victim myself, and sometimes, no matter how careful you are, you can just fall into the trap of fake news. But this is the first step for you to do, to know that a particular news information is fake and how to detect that it is fake. First, you must get the news from its proper source. For instance, if the Jigawa state government has issued a curfew that there would be no movements in Jigawa state, for instance, and you find that news story on news platforms, the first thing to do is to go to the Jigawa State government website and check, is the news there? Go to their verified Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, X handles and check, is the news there? Go to the spokespersons of the government, either the Commissioner for Information or the Chief Press Secretary or the senior aides of the governor on media and check, have they published the news? In the likelihood that that material or that information has not been published on any of those authorized platforms, my dear friends, it is likely to be fake news. If they say the federal government has issued this, the presidential spokesperson have not said so, it's not there on the official channels, it's not there on the government website, you are likely to be consuming fake news. Another way to verify that an information is fake news is when it is not published by the recognized older news media organizations. No, it is fake news. They say there was a report that the president of one of the African countries is dead, and BBC did not carry it, and CNN did not carry it, and Punch and Channels and NTA did not carry it. You think a president will die and they wouldn't know first in the first 1 hour and after 2 hours? So those are clear signs that those news materials are fake. And then what it means is that you should hold back from resharing it, because resharing a slanderous or libelous article carries almost the same punishment as the person who originated it. By sharing it, you are culpable. By sharing it, you are also a culprit in that particular crime of sharing fake news. So whenever you see an information, don't be in a hurry to break the news. You can break the news and break the society. Don't let your breaking news break our communities and break our society. So be careful. So to my question from here, whether you can be an affiliate to a news organization, it is yes and no. Yes, if the platform authorizes you. First, find their email address, mail them, and share your own idea with the editor. And let's see whether it actually aligns with the editorial policy, whether they can grant you such powers, whether they can make you a correspondent or can make you an independent reporter for their medium, and what the remuneration will be. But what I advise you not to do, don't go and create your own Punch and your own Vanguard and say you are an affiliate to them. That is absolutely illegal. Don't do that. Whatsoever you are going to do in the name of another news organization, you must be expressly permitted by writing. And there should be terms and conditions that apply very expressly. Otherwise, you are walking in very dangerous waters, and the arm of the law can catch up against you. But I think that's something novel. It's the first time I've heard about affiliate marketing. I've not heard affiliate journalism. And I think that's why I said be creative, be innovative. Probably news organizations can consider having, like NTA has substations in states. Maybe they can be sub branches for those news organizations.
Thank you very much, Mr. Finbarr. I think that will be part of the emerging businesses in journalism.
That's true.
All right, so we need to run very fast. We have a lot of virtual hands and we have questions in the chat box. From Calabar, what are the best qualities of writing style in journalism? Then I have another one from Makodi. In case you are not from the journalism discipline, how do you go into journalism in order to sustain a living? Then we'll go to Maiduguri. Let me allow you to take those two first.
Okay, how can you get into the journalism space? I just told you good news. You don't need any qualification to move in, but I also would advise that if you want to practice and be a core professional, that you need to go and study mass communication or communication arts and related fields in journalism. Otherwise, you will not be recognized. There are certain organizations that will not open their doors for you if you are not a professional, if you are not registered with the Nigeria Union of Journalists. So I advise that you read the course and then be registered with the professional organization so that you can practice freely, and then you would not be seen as a quack or as a fake journalist. But you can also do journalistic stuff. You can create your channel and put out your content as long as they are not illegal and you have your audience. I mean, you can go ahead. You don't even need to be called a journalist to do things that are done by journalists. So the space is a little more fluid for you to practice. And then the first question was on how to break in. I hope I got that. I missed it a little. On
the best quality of writing style in journalism.
Yes, best quality of writing style. There is no best quality. It depends on what you are writing on, and on every newspaper house has their in-house style. Every TV and radio house, they have their own style. The way channels does its news slightly different from the way Arise TV does, and the same for everywhere. So they all have their unique styles, and so it's for you to key into the one done by your broadcast organization. But if you are working alone, you develop your own style so that people appreciate you. It's good to be original. Don't try to copy people. Don't try to sound like another person. Don't try to be a fake version of an original product. You can combine many styles. I mean, in research, they say when you combine many sources, it is research. But when you copy from one, it's plagiarism. I'm saying that on a lighter note. But to develop a new style, copy from many sources and then create your original style. Draw inspiration from someone on CNN, from BBC, from Fox, from NTA, from your local radio station. And then in the process, you see that there is a style that is unique to you, will emerge very naturally. That's what I tell upcoming journalists. And there is, and again, you must be careful. What does your audience like? Do they like it formal? Do they like it informal? Do they like it chatty? Do they like it, depending on what audience you are targeting? If you are targeting young people, you don't need to write many paragraphs. I mean, I work for government now, and we have problems with press releases. Once it is more than 3 paragraphs, people don't read. And whatsoever information you had in there is completely lost. So now we do more videos. Even in passing critical government information, sometimes we must look for comedians to dance. We must look for people to dramatize the information for people to get the information. Because if you go and write one long article and publish in newspapers and do long press releases, people will say they didn't hear. And the essence of the information will be completely very lost. So that's the new form of media. There's also a question here, Josephine from Uyo, and it says, do I believe that there is a future for traditional platforms like newspaper and radio, especially now that the world is moving in the direction of social media only? Well, my answer will be very...
Just a second. Let me add a question from my Meduguri. Meduguri said, thank you for your presentation. In view of the challenges you have mentioned, including the issue of constant power outage and lack of good internet connectivity, what should an emergent journalist do?
Wow. My philosophy in life is that you focus on the things you can change and leave the things that you cannot change, because I don't like people who dwell on problems. I like people who focus on the way forward. So if there is no light, what do we do? Should we all die? No, we cannot die. We must weave out solutions from that situation, because even in the midst of that trouble, there are opportunities that actually does exist. Because people didn't have a light to watch television at home. That's why they have phones that they can still watch the same contents that are available on television. So out of that problem, people created solutions. So as a journalist, don't always look at the troubles. There is always light at the end of every tunnel where you can weave out opportunities. We pray for things to get better, but until they get better, we'll continue to evolve and go ahead with. On whether the traditional media will disappear, my personal opinion is that, in fact, these days, let me be truthful, whenever someone tells me he wants to read mass comm or communication arts, I ask the person and tell the person the reality. This profession is not the same again. Do you really think that your time for the next 4 years is worth reading this communication arts and mass comm that we read? Because things have changed. In those days, once you have a degree there, you're likely to get a job as a correspondent and all of that. but there are no jobs. And then radio stations are employing people now who speak pidgin than even correct English, because it is more commercial, it appeals to their audience, and it drives a lot of marketing. And you don't need a university degree to learn pidgin English. And many of those presenters, in as much as we are appealing for professionalism, didn't read mass comm. Many of them are graduates of physics and chemistry and any course on the face of the earth. So will the traditional platforms disappear? They will disappear and appear. That is my answer. You may not have physical newspapers in form of papers to read, but it doesn't mean that the print media will disappear, because the print media has reappeared on Facebook. They have reappeared on the websites. They have reappeared on Twitter and the rest of the platforms. So things are evolving, and we cannot predict what the future will be. So you just have to learn everything and continue to watch out on the space, which one accent is being placed on from time to time. And I think with that, we can make very good professionals.
So Finbarr, it just happens that we have a lot of questions and a lot of virtual hands. So can I take all the virtual hands? Will you be able to cope with all? We have about 4.
Yes, take all of them.
Because of the time. All right. So
no, take all of them.
Corner Ikeja. Okay. American Corner Ikeja, can you quickly unmute and go straight to your question? Why Sokoto comes up after? Meduguri, do you see have a question aside from the one in the chat box?
Yes, we do. Thank you.
Okay. So American Corner first, Sokoto second, then Meduguri third. Makodi, do you see have a question? Ikeja, please go ahead.
All right. Thank you and good morning, Mr. Finbarr. Thank you so much for your wealth of experience shared. Quickly, given your extensive experience in the media, what are your thoughts or views on the state of investigative journalism in Nigeria? And how safe is it for journalists to pull out all these important information, and how do they balance these challenges they face and the need for the truth and personal safety, professional safety? You had recent cases of 2 notable ones. One recently picked by the police, it was all in the media, and another one is actually a fugitive outside Nigeria, and they're actually doing so great and pulling out information. It's important information for the people, but they are being targeted by the powers. What do you think? What are your takes on this?
All right, thank you. So we go to Sokoto. Please, can you unmute and go straight to your question?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Idris Imam. They said from what you said that about disinformation, is it possible to eradicate disinformation, fake news completely, due to before some people will realize that it is a fake news, maybe they have consumed it and it has affected them in any way. So they say prevention is better than cure. Instead of looking for the solution to what you've consumed and it was fake, why not have a solution to eradicate it in all? Thank you.
Thank you. So Meduguri, please unmute and go straight to the question. Thank you.
Good morning. My question is regarding to niche journalism, and the question is, what are the techniques, or how do I keep the people I invited to my podcast on key, that is on the topic of the conversation? Because some people tend to go off key due to camera shy or maybe talking to the microphone. So that's my question.
Mr. Finbarr, did you get that?
Yes, I did. I got that.
Okay. All right. So we go to Precious Ukeje. Please, can you introduce yourself? If possible, put on your camera and ask your question.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Am I being heard?
We can hear you clearly.
All right. Thank you so much. Precious Ukeje is my name, and I've been a follower of Mr. Aniekeme Finbarr for quite a long time now. And Mr. Finbarr, I want to appreciate you greatly for the thoughts you shared this morning. And so I'd like to ask, you talked about globalization of journalism and how people are telling stories from their localities. And that's a very beautiful thing. But my thinking is that you may be speaking to people who are thinking, what kind of stories should I tell from my locality? And so that brings me to my question. What are some of the stories you think or you consider that one should be telling from the local places where they are? I believe generally that local stories are interesting, but not everyone knows what to pursue, what kind of story to pursue in the places where they live. So what are your thoughts on the kind of stories journalists, especially young journalists, should be telling from the small places where they live and all of that? Thank you.
All right. So, Mr. Finbarr, before you take all the questions, so let me take the last one on the chat box. Podcasting has become a core medium among many young Nigerians, exploring the niche journalism angle. What do you foresee as the future of this aspect of media in the next years? So you can go ahead now.
Okay. Wow. Quite many questions, and I must thank everyone for participating. So let me take them one after the other. I'll begin with the first that talked about investigative journalism. What is the state of investigative journalism in Nigeria in the light of some of our media friends who are either in hiding or actually have been arrested in times past? The question and the answer I'm going to give you is the same answer one of my favorite lecturers and professors in the United States said. His name is A.I. Thomskin, and he's a revered professor of artificial intelligence. He said, look, gentlemen, journalism is only practiced by journalists who are alive. Dead journalists don't practice journalism. Journalism can only be done by the living and not the dead. The first thing a journalist owes himself or herself is to be alive. Don't risk your life on the altar of journalism and news. The best that can help us is that you can get a minute silence, which usually these days is not even up to a minute. So you must prioritize your safety above every other thing. For those who are involved in investigative journalism, you must be extremely careful. Must be extremely careful. And then you must also verify your information, because most times the things that are hot the most are wrong information and false information. But above all, I cannot guarantee you that there are people who will not continue to be uncomfortable about the truth. The truth in itself makes people uncomfortable. So you must brace up yourself if you are going to be going into investigative journalism. We are praying for better days, but at the moment, you have to be extremely careful. You must find your own formula for practice. Where will you be operating from? Is it a safe place? Are you free to operate from? How risky is that domain? And then the quality of news that you are going to publish, who is going to be affected? How is such a person likely to react? You see, you must be able to take into cognizance all of this, because journalism in itself, investigation, is a very risky aspect of our practice. But by all means, please stay safe. It is not worth you dying for journalism. be very safe. That's my own personal advice. But we need investigative journalism to help the society to continue to move forward. And for everyone who is able to brace up to take up that challenge, I think there's a very special blessing that God has for such person as a person of faith. That's what I actually think. My other friend asked, can fake news be completely eradicated? My answer is no, because even as we are having this program, somebody is conjuring one fake news to publish even at this moment. Someone is trying to produce fake news now. In the next 1 hour, you see another fake news. People will not repent. It's the same thing with crime. Can we eradicate crime? No. No matter how many policemen you recruit, no matter the punishment you give for crimes, no matter how many guns you buy, right inside the police station, somebody is about to steal something inside a police station now in this country. So is anything, I mean, generators get missing in police stations in Nigeria, right there in front of the police people. So you can't eradicate these things, but you can immune yourself from fake news. Number one, don't follow blogs that publish fake news. Unfollow them, block them. You can immune yourself and your sensibilities from people who publish fake stuff. Once a particular news medium has published fake stuff, it has a likelihood of publishing it again. So follow only people who put out credible information and stand by it. And then my friend also asked about niche journalism. If you're interviewing someone on a podcast, how do you keep them on the topic? That's why you need to learn more about interviewing skills. You need to read more books and materials and listen to veterans who know how to interview people. I mean, that's a topic I can take the next 1 hour to talk about interviews, because I used to do a lot of interviews, even on the network service of Radio Nigeria. So I know what it means. There are some guests that are very problematic. They only want to say what they want to say. They don't want to answer your questions. And they want to speak on issues they want to speak on, even if they are not relevant to that program. So one of the things as a broadcaster or a journalist, you must be firm. If a guest tries to derail, you tell the person, look, sir, I'm afraid that is not the focus of our program. Our program today is focused on so, and so. So maybe on another program, we can entertain what you are saying. You must be firm, you must have control, and you must ask the right questions. Again, it is the interviewers that provoke their guests. We're talking about sports. When you go and scratch something in politics and think the guest is not going to react, the person is going to talk about that politics that you inadvertently tried to bring into the conversation. Ms. Ukeje, I thank you very much. That was our project manager on the Impact project. He's asking about globalization. What kind of stories can my friends who are watching me now, what kind of stories can they tell? There are so many stories in Nigeria, in Africa, in our states, in our communities that you can tell. Let me tell you one weird one you may not have thought about. Do you know how many Americans or Europeans or Indians or Chinese may like to learn about witchcraft, witches and wizards in your communities and village? It is a topic, and there are veterans, there are herbalists, there are traditional chiefs that you can talk to, village heads, paramount rulers, who have a grasp on issues of witchcrafty and who can speak to it. The same thing for every other thing. People are interested in the food that is eaten in your place. They're interested in the dances. They're interested in the magic. They're interested in the youths. They're interested in so many things. Culture. So there are many stories that you can report. On agriculture, the kind of plants and what you grow. They're interested in your transportation. They're also interested in your history. So you can create a history channel, a history of Nigerian people. How were we in 1914? How were we before 1914 and the rest of it? So there are many things that you can tell to the global audience that will make sense to them. And they're actually eager to hear those original stories from you. And then the final question was on the future of podcasting. I think podcasting is just radio in a new cloth. it follows the principles of audio broadcasting and what we used to do on radio. The difference is that they have brought radio for people to see. So you now see the people who are doing the interviews who are seated. But I prefer the older model because it gave room for more imagination. You were just there imagining what's happening in that studio. And so you are broadcasting to 1 million people who have 1 million different pictures of what's going on in the studio. I think it was more interesting, more imaginative. Podcasting, for me, waters down the magic of radio. It does not allow us be imaginative and creative and wonder what's going on inside the studio. But it's something we have to embrace. And I think podcasting has a very long future. Again, radio caters for the grassroots, the local people. And so podcasting touches issues that are really dear to our hearts. There are issues that BBC will not bother to talk on, or CNN, or the big media organizations. But there are issues that Nedu sits on his podcast, which we consider to be on serious issues, or issues that are not important. But you see millions of people, keying into those programs, and they seem to enjoy it. I don't enjoy many podcasts because I think some of the issues are not serious enough. But in life, you don't get too serious, and life does not really need serious people like us all the time. So sometimes we can just sit down and talk about almost nothing, and everybody gets entertained. But on the whole, I must encourage all of us that the media space is wide now. The media space is innovative. So find a corner and create for yourself. And one thing I didn't also touch, how to make money, because I know this generation likes money and likes to make money because it's not just about the passion. How can you make money? Once your platforms are popular, you can charge adverts. People can advertise on your platforms, and you can also earn by monetization from the social media channels. So that's one of the ways to do so. Maybe on some other day, we'll talk about monetization of the media space. I'm sure Josephine and our guys at the American space will create this for us to sit down and talk about monetization in the media space as somebody who is currently earning from the media space, and I will be able to do justice. But thank you so very much, American Spaces. Thank you to Dr. Nobrakpo here and the great team at the Uyo Window who've been hosting me. They hosted me on my project, and they're hosting me again. So anytime you're looking for me, I'm sure I'm somewhere near the Uyo Window in America. Thank you so much, and God bless all of us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Finbarr. What a great time we had this morning. And as the common saying, that when you are having fun, you don't know when the time runs fast. So I'd like to hand over to my colleague, my supervisor, Mr. Samuel Eyitayo.
Hello, Mr. Finbarr. Thank you very much for coming on our program today. It has been a wonderful time. You can't believe this. We had consistently about 30 participants on this Zoom. And then on the Facebook page, we had 8 people who were there from the beginning, consistently. Even if I check right now, let me see whether they've dropped off. Yeah, some of them are still, okay, the 8 are still there. So what I'm saying is everyone really enjoyed this session, and we really want to appreciate you. Can we put our hands together for Mr. Finbarr for this wonderful session? Let's put our hands together. And you've talked of ways to further empower the youth. That's what American Spaces are. We are platforms for engagement, for education and empowerment. And anytime you want to do this across the channel, we're available. Just reach out to us through the director in your location, and then we'll be able to arrange it. We also would like to thank all the directors, more importantly, Dr. Ufuoma sorry, Ufuoma, wonderful. I always try to escape that, but I've written it down, but she will forgive me. So, Dr. Former, we're really, really excited and grateful for hosting this event. Let me also appreciate Josephine also, who is our program coordinator, who actually did exemplary well. Thank you everyone for coming. On the chat, we put there information about how you can further get more information about what we're doing. We have a bio link, which is written there, link to American Spaces Nigeria. That's a link for you, and you can share it with your friends and enemies as well. We have WhatsApp channel. That's where we announce all our programs. We encourage you to please check that. And right there, you see quite a lot of other information. So we encourage you all to please follow us and get more. And with this, I want to thank you once again, all of us who have been here for the past 1 hour. You deserve a round of applause for yourself. Thank you very much. And over and out, hoping to see you very, very soon. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Informative session, sir.